us at Coachella, leaning on your shoulder, watching your head.
Lana Del Rey does make a couple of concessions towards mainstream trends in pop music like trap percussion on this record. Plus, I do think that in terms of the slow, syrupy, seductive ballads that are inspired by Baroque pop and dream pop from long ago, this is definitely standard fare for Lana. Like, the songwriting gets very tiresome throughout the record, as well as the fact that plenty of cuts here don't sound like they fit into the record, like the cuts with A$AP Rocky and Playboi Carti. I don't think they add anything to the record. They certainly don't fit the bill, and the trap percussion definitely just pierces the dreamy instrumentation that Lana tends to go for. If Lana was trying to switch things up, then she certainly wasn't making the right switch up to complement her usual style. There are some lush string sections on cuts like Love, as well as during the second half of Heroin, even though on other cuts these string sections do sound very forced, or as if, hey, we gotta include these strings, these orchestral sounds on this record because they'll make the music sound more artful. They might be there to just make the songs sound nice when the songwriting isn't up to scratch, when the songwriting just rehashes melodies and chord progressions. Though I will say those vocal melodies can sound nice from time to time, even on some of the weaker cuts like Groupie Love. Even though I feel like the inclusion of that track was very forced, the melody sounds nice. I mean, remember when she released that Ride single? Was that not the most adventurous song Lana has released thus far?
I'm tired of feeling like I'm fucking crazy. I'm tired of driving till I see stars in my eyes.
I would like to see her take on a bit more of that progressive approach, a bit more of that ambitious approach, because it actually works out really well for her. And she does do that quite a bit on this record, even though not to the fullest degree. I think that on this record she actually becomes a little more socially conscious with her lyrics, which I think is admirable, even though it doesn't always pay off, like on the track Coachella, Woodstock in My Mind, where she talks about how she feels sorry for these children, but of all the children she can announce her sympathy for, she chooses to sympathize with the kids at Coachella, which is like, what? However, elsewhere, I do think that Lana makes a lot of improvements to her lyric writing, especially when taking on this bolder, sort of very defined, strong approach as a narrator, especially when it comes to tracks like When the World Was at War, We Kept Dancing. I feel like on this track, things just fall into place, as if something is at stake on this song, like there is a tension there, and I think that Lana does a fantastic job of actually building that tension in the lyrics as well as her performance, and bringing on people like Stevie Nicks and Sean Ono Lennon only help to kind of enhance that further, and actually their tracks make up some of the best cuts on Lust for Life. I do think that this album could have been cut down a lot. I think that sitting on this album somewhere is a decent, even good album, but it wasn't cut down. There are a couple of unnecessary concessions towards mainstream trends, like the trap percussion, and I do think that her songwriting has definitely become very unadventurous and very predictable and formulaic. It wasn't great, it wasn't awful, it's in the middle, but there's potential here. 5 out of 10, cute smile though.